Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sugatandikam Mandeham Shri Gurum Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Saidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopiga Kanda Radha Kanda Namastude Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhesya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swamini Dhamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayat Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayade Girim Yat Kripatam Ham Mande Shri Gurum Dinadarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyamishwaram Yonda Pravishya Mama Vachumimam Prasuktam Sanjeevayati Akhila Shakti Dharasudamnam Anyam cha hastat charana shrana tugadin pranam namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam tamadi devam karunanidhanam tamala varnam suhitavadaram apara samsara samudra sedum bhajamahe bhagavata surupam paramananda pathaya prema varshi aksharaya de sarvada sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya namostume. Hare Krishna. Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, text Canto 2, chapter 3, text 20. 2-3-20. Vile Batorukrama Vikramanye Nashrinpata Karnapude Narasyam Jivasadi Dardhurike Basuta Nachapagayati Urugaya Gataha. Chinmay Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I am cooking actually. I am listening.
Okay, no problem. Okay, then Padmamukhi Mataji.
Vile Batorukrama Vikramanye Nashravan Vata Karnapute Narashya Jiva Sakti Dardur Keva Suta Nachopagayati Urugaya Kataha.
Prabhu is there?
Prabhu went down to
Okay.
take some.
Sujay Prabhu, can you please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like a tongue of a frog. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. What are the specialities of the ear holes of a snake and the tongue of the frog? Can anyone say?
Prabhu, snake.
Tongue of the frog.
Prabhuji, Mataji.
Snake ears is there, but it is not listening. I think the sound will not go inside.
Yeah.
That body only, that sparsha will be taking now, Prabhu. I think for that, like that, that's why this example gave.
Okay, and what about frog?
And the frog will make unnecessary sound, Prabhuji. It will give trouble to the frog only.
No, invite snake.
Yes,
It will invite the snake.
Yeah. So it is, just like the rods, croaking. That's what Prabhupada says. Just simply, vibrating the tongue and making sound so that the snake comes and eats that. Okay, like that. What I heard about the snake, so it has, the ears and the ear and eye will not work simultaneously. When the ear closes, the eye open. When the eyes closes, the ear open. Something like that. That's why when we go, we make the sound so that it hears and the eyes closes. So it doesn't see us. So whenever we go at night, we are told to clap and go, so that if there are any snakes, they will not be able to see us. When the sound comes, the ear hole opens and the eyes will close. Eyelid will close. They will not be able to see. That's what I heard. Anyway, let us take that. Any idea about this? Have you heard of this?
Yes, Prabhu. Snakes can only capture the vibration, Prabhu.
Vibration.
Although they have eyes, but they can only feel the vibration, Prabhu. So when we move or something shakes, the vibration it creates in the air can only be sensed by them, Prabhu.
So the devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs of parts of the body. It is a transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. One can engage in devotional service when the senses of the body are purified in relation with the Lord. And one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. As such, the senses and the actions of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they are employed only in the sense gratification. So, if we don't engage our senses in serving the Supreme Lord, rather engage for our own sense gratification, it's good for nothing, isn't it? So that's what it is implied here. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification, but in the service of the Lord in toto. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor, who is part and parcel of the Lord, also has the same senses. Service to the Lord is completely purified use of the senses, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord imparted instructions with full senses, and Arjuna received them with full senses. And thus, there was a perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple, as foolishly claimed by the same propaganda mongers. Okay, spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple, as foolishly claimed by some propaganda mongers. Everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and the disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teachings of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses so that one can logically understand the great mission. So unless and until we are receptive, we will not be able to understand anything that is transferred from guru to disciple. So we should engage our senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. Only then we will be able to understand it in the right logic. Otherwise, we will not be. So we should be submissive. That is one of the first qualification. So we should be submissive to the spiritual master, to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Now, if you don't have faith, if we are not submissive, and if you are very argumentative, we challenge, then we will not be able to understand anything. So first qualification to understand spiritual subject matter is our submission to the spiritual master, our submission to the Shastra and Sadhu. So that's what is given in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what is this Bhagavad Gita? Sorry. So in the impure state of a living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. So in the ordinary course of activities, we are using all our senses for our sense gratification. So that's what impure state. So when we become purified, our senses will be utilized in the service of the Supreme Lord. If the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about him from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly the holes of the ear will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the messages of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be preached all over the world loudly. That is the duty of a pure devotee who has actually heard about them from the perfect sources. Many want to speak something to others, but because they are not trained to speak on the subject matter of Vedic wisdom, they are all speaking nonsense and people are receiving them with no sense. They are speaking nonsense and they are receiving with no sense. Okay. Very, very nice usage. Okay. So we want to vibrate our tongue. Okay. We want to utilize our other senses also only for sense gratification. So vibrating, that is the duty of each one of us. We want to do prajalpa, we want to murmur something. Okay. But we don't want to use the same tongue in the glorification of the Supreme Lord. And ears for listening or drinking the nectar that is coming from Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We are not interested. We want to simply engage ourselves in prajalpa. Okay. In that we are getting satisfaction. When we find fault in others, we are very happy. You know what happened to that person? You know what happened to this person? What did he say that day? So we are, talking such gossips generally, not devotees. Generally, this is our time pass. Politics, Gramya Katha, politics, sports, films. We become happy when somebody else in sorrow. This is generally seen in the mundane world. But devotee, they want to help others. That's why Srila Prabhupada is instructing us, we should get trained ourselves and speak the subject matter of Vedic wisdom to all people, because they are bereft of or they are deprived of listening to such topics which alone can purify our existence. So this is what we do. Similarly, the people of the world should be taught to hear the transcendental topics of the Lord, and the devotee of the Lord must speak loudly so that they can hear. Okay. Anyway, according to time, place, and circumstances, we have to behave. Everywhere we cannot speak loudly, but usually when there is a chance, chanting japa should be done loudly. So not only we will get benefited, the others who are listening to the sound vibration will also, not only the human being, other creatures, other insects or birds or flies or whoever it is, the dogs, whoever it is, they all will get benefited by hearing this transcendent sound vibration. The frogs loudly croak, okay, with the result that they invite the snakes to eat them. So it is just like the mundane gossip. The croaking of the toads or the frogs is inviting snakes, and it is death for them. The human tongue is especially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking like frogs. The word asati used in this verse is also significant. Asati means a woman who has become a prostitute. Asat. Okay. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymns will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. So that is a comparison given by Prabhupada here. Not only Prabhupada, in the verse also, because in the croaking of the frogs is simply invite troubles and death. So it is considered to be a unchaste woman who doesn't have any reputation of good qualities. So instead of using our faculties for serving the Supreme Lord in different ways, we are using the same senses for our sense gratification. So it is just like it will be considered just like a prostitute, simply attracting her customers for sense gratification. That's all. So we should purify our senses by engaging these senses in the service of Supreme Lord. So all the senses can be engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, isn't it? There are 9 types of devotional service. So by using these senses, we can engage in any one of these 9 types of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So this is what we should do. Instead of unnecessarily using our senses in the mundane world for our sense gratification and getting implicated in the material world, okay, and getting entangled in this material world again and again through different species of 8.4 million species. Why not utilize the same senses and get liberated in the same very lifetime? So this is what Prabhupada is instructing all of us. Okay, so if you don't do that, it is as good as what the slogan says. It's just like the holes of the snake and the tongue of the frog. So
Prabhuji,
yeah.
in this one, Prabhuji, in the last line, tongue is only for chanting the Vedic hymns.
Yeah.
But we are using for our material, physical, that practical activities, na Prabhuji, for reading, studying, for work related and house related, we are using them. But that is also.
Yeah. As far as the devotee is concerned, whatever he does, he is not doing anything material. So when we are taking care of our daily routine as an householder, that is also for pleasing the Supreme Lord. Okay, when we are going to work, we are earning the money and to raise the family in a Krishna conscious way. So everything, even though it may be a material activities, it is no less than Vedic hymns, because we are totally surrendered to Supreme Lord through the Guru Parampara, and we are engaging ourselves in this worldly affairs to the bare minimum necessity. Okay, we are not doing anything extra for our sense gratification. We are in this material world, we have to survive, we have to work, but all this work is totally dovetailed for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, so that we can be Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. So working in the kitchen, working in the office, and taking care of the children, all these are Krishna conscious activities only as far as devotees are concerned, because they keep Krishna in the center of all the activities. The main purpose of all these activities is just to please Krishna. Okay, may not be a direct service, but indirectly it's a Krishna conscious activity only, because ultimately our aim is to engage ourselves in the service of the Lord and engage our dependents and friends and relatives also in the service of the Lord. So all those activities may look outwardly material activities, but those are spiritual activities for devotees. But in the mundane world, all the materialist people, totally 100%, it is material activities, because they are doing those activities for their sense and enjoyment. So that's the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Devotee keeps Krishna in center and perform all the activities for his pleasure, although it may appear to be material activities.
Yes, Prabhuji, clear.
Clear, Mazi?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So anything else? Any other points or any questions?
Haribol Prabhu.
So we should not become frog nor snake. We should not become mosquito. We should not become crow. But our Chanakya Pandit says, to the students, Kaka Cheshta, what is that? I'll just tell you 1 second. Bhagavad Dhyanam. Kaka Cheshta, Bhagavad Dhyanam, Swan Nidra. Tadaivacha. Swanidra Tadaivacha. Then Alpahara, Brahmacharyam, Vidyati Panchalakshana. Okay? Okay, what is that name? I can, I remember that. Kaka Cheshta. What is Kaka Cheshta? Kaka, all. What is Kaka?
Crow.
Crow. Okay. Cheshta means the activity. Cheshta, we say in our language also. Kaka Cheshta means we should do activities like Kaka. Means the crow is very particular. When it needs water, we have learned in our school days also. There is a glass of water, we'll put pebbles in that, then the water will rise, then we'll drink. So it is taking a lot of efforts, lot of endeavor, okay, to drink little water. It is not okay. I cannot reach the water. I will go, thirsty. No, it's not. It takes a lot of effort to drink the water. So the Vidyarthi, the student, should put a lot of efforts and endeavor to study. It's not that easy. They have to get up early in the morning. There will be homeworks. There will be, so much to study for the exam. So they have to put a lot of effort. So once the Vidyarthi should be like Kaka, like the crow, because the Cheshta should be like crow. Okay. And Bhagavad Dhyanam. Bhaga means, what is Bhaka? Bakasur.
Bakasura.
What is that? Crane.
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 Big,
Koti, the white one with long this thing. So it is focusing so much concentration on the river bank. You'll see, just will be standing like, how that it is doing meditation. After a long time, it will just, take the fish and eat. So it is very focused and too much focus when it can take its prey, the fish from the water. So one point at attention. So like that, Bhagavad Dhyanam. So children, the students or the Vidyarthi should have that focus in the studies. Okay. And Swanidra. Swanidra means dog. How it sleeps? Little sound, it immediately gets up. We should not sleep like Kumbhakarna. Little sound, it will get up. And so like that, we should be alert. Even while sleeping, we should be alert. It's not that, even the bomb explodes, we don't know. that should not be the case. Okay. Exams are coming, and so sleep little and study more. Okay. So Nidra. So the dog is given an example. Tathaivacha, like that. Then Alpahara. What is Alpahara? That is Mitahara. Don't eat till here. Then you will sleep too much. You won't be able to study. You won't be able to complete your assignment and homework and that thing. And you will not pass the exam. So Mitahara, to keep you energized, that much only you should eat, not overeat. Mitahara, Alpahara. Okay. And then last one, Brahmacharyam. Brahmacharyam, they should be celibate. Totally, student life means celibacy. They should not think anything here and there. So this is Vidyarthi Lakshana. The 5.
Prabhuji, that Baka, Kaka Cheta, Baka.
Kaka Cheshta, Bhagavad Dhyanam. Dhyana means, meditation. How it meditates to take the food that is fish. It just, maybe standing for 5 minutes without any movement in one, posture only. Then when the fish comes, that he can get it immediately, takes it, beaks and pick it up.
Nice sloka, Prabhuji, this one.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yesterday I was hearing one small lecture from Radhanath Swami Maharaj.
Yeah.
So, and Maharaj was also speaking about crane. So he was telling that it has so much focus on attention, because what happens is that when it looks into the water, there are many fish.
Yeah.
So many diversions are there. But he focuses only on the biggest one.
Biggest one.
And then one point focus. Maybe near to that, well within range, there will be a small fish, but it will not focus there. It will only focus on that big one, and when it is the right moment,
Yeah, like that.
so
Okay,
pretty much relatable, Prabhuji.
So like that, what he concluded, Prabhuji, Radhana Swami Maharaj lecture.
Focus.
Focus.
Focus
Our-
on only what you want, which is basically our devotional activities. Because rest all is just, like it will come and go.
Will come and
But
go,
our
yeah.
focus should always be on the
Devotional service.
devotional activity. Rest all things, no need to like.
Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Sindayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripasade Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yoga Kshemam Maham. Ananya. Anya Bilashida Sunyam Jnana Karmadhyana Vradam Anukulena Krishnanushīlanam Bhakti Ruttama. Okay. So that Ananya, without any other thought, single pointed attention, total focus in devotional service. Rest will happen automatically if we have this Ananya Bhakti. Okay. We don't have to separately endeavor for it. No specific endeavor is required if we are focused in devotional service. Okay. So we'll go to the next text 21. Vara param patta kirita justam api uttamangam namen mukundam savau karona kurute saparyam harerla satkanchana kankanau. Okay, Rajesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Varam param patta kiruta justa mapyutta mangam namen mukundam savav karauna urute saparyam harella satkanchana kankanava.
Very good. Okay, translation. Rupesh Mataji, can you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, the upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. Though decorate, and the hands, though decorated with the glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead Hari.
Hari, Hari. Hari, Hari.
Hari.
The upper portion of the body, though covered with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. Because we can see in the material world, so many people are wearing hat and cap and turban, this and that, some, I am somebody, some, material. Okay. But, if that turban will be only a burden, if that head doesn't bow down, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can award freedom. You say, why to carry the burden? I am somebody. That is the thinking of such people. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality. So people, they are all wearing a lot of ornaments in the hands and, on the neck and leg and everywhere. So those decoration, if it will be just like a dead man if we are not utilizing our limbs in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. In brief, all our limbs and the senses should be offered to Supreme Personality of Godhead for serving Him. Otherwise, it's of no use. We have head. What is the use of this head? If you feel so much burden of this head, what's the use? It is heavy, but what's the use of this heavy head if it cannot, bow down in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, isn't it? So, as stated herein before, there are three kinds of devotees of the Lord. The first class devotees does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of the Lord, but the second class devotee makes distinction between devotees and non-devotees. Second class devotees are therefore meant for preaching work, and as referred to in the above verse, they must loudly preach the glories of the Lord. Okay, so which are these three types of devotees?
One who surrenders.
What are the names in Sanskrit?
Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama.
Yes. Yes.
But another three will come, Prabhuji, in Bhagavad Gita. Three types of devotees will, one group will surrender, that Asuras type, they will never come.
No, that is different. Here it is mentioned, it's meant by this sentence, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Okay, the Kanishta Adhikari does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of God. The first class devotee, this is first class. The first class devotee does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of the Lord. But the second class devotee makes distinction between devotees and devotees. Second class devotees are therefore meant for preaching work. And as referred in the above verse, they must loudly preach the glories of the Lord. The second class devotee accept disciples from the section of the third class devotees or non-devotees. Okay. Sometimes the first class devotees also comes down to the category of the second class devotee for preaching work. So there are three types of devotees. Kanishta is the third class, and Madhyama, that is the second class, and this Uttama, the first class. Okay. So sometimes what Prabhupada says here, the Uttama Adhikari comes down to the level of Madhyama Adhikari, the second class. For what? For preaching purpose. Okay. For preaching work. Why? Because the Uttama Adhikari is very difficult for him to preach. Why? What is the reason?
What, Prabhuji?
What is the reason? The Uttama, for preaching work, the Uttama Adhikari comes down to the level of Madhyama. So why they have to come down to the level of Madhyama? In that position, they cannot preach?
To entangle that Madhyama Adhikari from that level to little more up. Just like when our children.
No, you did not get my question. Okay. Sometimes the first class devotee also comes down to the category of the second class devotee for preaching work. Why he has to come down to the second class? Can't he preach by situating himself in the first class? Uttama Adhikari.
Prabhuji, is it because, the level of philosophy would be very high for them to grasp?
No, you can speak the lower philosophy.
Prabhuji, he will feel everybody is like him only.
Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmine Gavi Asini Suni Chaiva Sopakecha Pandita Samadarshana.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, he will not discriminate. He will not discriminate. Even if he is put into inconvenience, it's all the Lord's mercy that I am put into the. He will not discriminate. He will not chastise because he is in that pure mode. So for preaching work, you have to be little in the mode of passion also. You should discriminate. You have to chastise. You have to be little aggressor also. So he comes down to the level. Although he is on the Uttama platform, just to educate the normal people, he has to come down to that level. Only then he will be able to do effective preaching. or the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, they don't want to hurt anybody. And they will see everybody, they are better than me. So our Shadgo Swamis, they are all very, very highly scholarly and highly exalted devotees. But still, because of that humility, I don't have any qualities. I don't have any qualities. They will, come down to any level, even in front of the ordinary people, because they are in the Uttama level. So Madhyamadhikari, they discriminate. This Uttamadhikari, they don't discriminate. They see even a small person, a totally materially engrossed person, he will see only good in them. They will not find the fault in them. So that is Uttamadhikari. Equal vision. They see the soul, the divinity, the Atma, the spirit soul within every living entity. They will not discriminate between different species also. So that is a level. So for preaching purpose, they come to that category. That's what Prabhupada says. Sometimes the first class devotee also comes down to the category of the second class devotee for preaching work. Then it will be effective. He can, wherever, he has to take a stick, he will take the stick. Wherever he has to chastise, he will chastise. Wherever he has to show anger, he will show anger. Only because, the children, if they have to be taught with nice words, sweet words, they will not be, will not be able to teach all the children. There are different types of children. Some are very obedient, some are not. So if you have to tame such disobedient children, you have to be a little aggressive. So, but the common man who is expected to become at least a third class devotee is advised herein to visit the temple of the Lord and bow down before the deity, even though he may be a very rich man or even a king with a silk turban. So the neophyte devotee, the Kanishtadhikari, the third class devotee, think that the Lord is only in the temple. That is their understanding. Okay, and others they will not see. They will not see the spirit, the Atma, in the body of other living entities. Okay, this God is only there. So that is the lowest stage. The Madhyamadhikari, they know all the philosophy. Okay, but they unlike the Uttamadhikari, they will discriminate. What they will do? They will accept only good. They will reject the bad. So they will accept only the devotees. They will not entertain the non-devotees. But here, the Uttamadhikari will see devotees, non-devotees all equally. So the neophyte devotees, the third class devotees, even though he may be a king or some great personality on the material platform, they're all asked to visit a temple, bow down before the deity. The Lord is the Lord of everyone, including the great kings and emperors. And men who are rich in the estimation of mundane people must therefore make it a point to visit the temple of Lord Sri Krishna and regularly bow down before the deity. By bowing down, slowly and gradually we become humble. Because the heaviest part of the body is what? Head, right? So if we bow down every day, that will become light, and that means we will not be proud. Otherwise, I am somebody, I am something, that is, raising our head. Do you know who am I? So that sort of mentality will be there. So we have to bow down. So instead of bowing down to the mundane personalities, bow down to the Supreme Lord. The Lord in the temple, in the worshipable form, is never to be considered to be made of stone or wood, for the Lord in his Archa incarnation as the deity in the temple shows immense favor to the fallen souls by his auspicious presence. So one should not think that this is a piece of stone or wood or marble or something else, metal. He is the Archa Vigraha. Okay, just to facilitate us to see him, because we don't have the spiritual vision. he has agreed to come in that form of wood or marble or metal. Okay, he is not just a piece of wood or marble. We should understand that. So he is the Supreme Lord himself. For those who have faith in him, devotees. For those who are non-devotees, definitely he'll be, it'll be a piece of stone or marble or something like that. So, Lord in the Archa Vigraha will reciprocate only with the devotees, because the devotee has 100% faith that Saksh, what is that? Sakshal Brajendra Nandan. Pratima nahi tumi Sakshal Brajendra Nandan. You are not a mere statue. You are original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brajendra Nandan. Sakshi Gopal. Okay, we know that. Sakshi Gopal was asked to come to witness by the young Brahmana. Then Sakshi Gopal said, I cannot walk. Have you ever heard the deities walking? Then, that young Brahmana said, if the deity can speak, he can walk also. Okay. And Sakshi Gopal went behind it. We know that so many devotees have had, communication with the Supreme Lord, conversation with the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord in the deity form has reciprocated to all the devotees, isn't it? So we should not think that this is just a mere deity in the, in wood or a piece of marble or metal. No. For those who have 100% faith to them, he is Sakshat Brajendra Nandan. Otherwise, it's just piece of wood or marble or stone. So by the hearing process, as mentioned herein before, this realization of the presence of the Lord in the temple is made possible. As such, the first process in the routine work of devotional service, hearing is the essential point. Shravanam. The first process is Shravanam, hearing. Shravan. Okay? You have to listen, hear. Hearing by all classes of devotees from the authentic source, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, is essential. So it should be from the authentic source, bona fide pupil, not from anyone and everyone. Should be authentic, bona fide sources. Common man who is puffed up with his material position and does not bow down before the deity of the Lord in the temple, or who defies temple worship without any knowledge of the science, must know that his so-called turban or crown will only succeed in further drowning him in the water of the ocean of material existence. So if the person with turban and crown and all things, if they don't bow down in front of the Supreme Lord, that will only a burden, and it will, make him sink in this material ocean. That's all. Drowning man with a heavy weight on his head is sure to go down more swiftly than those who have no heavy weight. Isn't it? If we are having too much weight, the faster we will go down in the depth of the ocean. So a foolish, puffed up man defies the science of God and says that God has no meaning for him. But when he is in the grip of God's law and is caught by some disease like cerebral thrombosis, and that godless man sinks into the ocean of nations by the weight of his material acquisition. Advancement of material science without God consciousness is a heavy load on the head of human society. And so one must take heed of this great warning. So we have to learn from this sloka that our head is for bowing down in front of the Supreme Lord and make it light. If our head is heavy, it is very easy to drown in the material existence. If it makes light, it will not drown. So the common man, if he is willing to worship the Lord, may at least engage his hands for a few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. Okay. So here, Prabhupada is telling, if he has not time to worship the Lord, at least do some service in the temple of the Lord. Maharaja Prataprudra, the greatly powerful king of Orissa, was always very busy with heavy state responsibilities. Yet, he made it a point to see the temple of the Lord Jagannath at Puri once a year during the festival of the Lord. So the example is given about Prataprudra, the king of Orissa, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. So he had a lot of state responsibility being a king. So he did not have much time to devote, for the devotional service. But at least once in a year, he used to sweep the floor of the temple, or in front of Rath Yatra, he used to sweep the ground. So he was doing that service. So Prabhupada is giving an example of that. So the idea is that however important a man one may be, he must accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. One must accept that Supreme Lord is there. We are all subservient to him, and our duty is to serve him. So that we should accept. This God consciousness will help a man even in his material prosperity. So, even on the material platform, this will be helpful for such people. Maharaja Prataparudra's subordination before Lord Jagannatha made him a powerful king, so much so that even the great Pathan in his time could not enter into Orissa on account of the powerful Maharaja Prataparudra, because it was the Mughal time. They used to come and attack, our temples, but because he was so powerful by the blessings of Supreme Lord, even the Muslims could not enter Orissa at that time during the reign of Prataparudra. And at last, Maharaja Prataparudra was graced by Lord Sri Chaitanya on the very grounds of his acceptance of subordination to the Lord of the universe. So at last, for so many years, he was trying to get the audience of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was not allowed. But at last, after he saw that Prataparudra, being a king, was sweeping, the ground, the road, while having the Rath Yatra, so he could melt the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, and he gave the audience to Prataparudra. So he accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the very grounds of his acceptance of subordination to the Lord of the universe. So even though a rich man's wife has glittering bangles made of gold on her hands, she must engage herself in rendering service. Oh, my hand is adorned with bangles, so many costly. No, I should not, take the broom. I should not do any seva. No, even the rich man's wife with so much of costly bangles, she should do the service for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whether you wear a burden, turban, or a crown on the head, you should bow down in front of it. Even if you wear so many costly ornaments on the hand, we should use that hand in the service of Supreme Lord. Only then, we can show that we are subservient to the Supreme Lord's instruction, and we are accepting the Supreme Lord, and Lord will show or shower mercy to all of us. So any points? Or any questions? So who are carrying this turban on the head, and who are carrying the, golden bangles? So let it be there, no problem. But do not forget to bow down or use these hands in the service of Supreme Lord. Okay. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here for today. So next class we'll continue from text 22, and after a while we are having Damodar Arti in the home of our Paramananda Purushottam Prabhu. So you can wait for 10-15 minutes. We'll have the Arati being the first day of Kartik month. Then we'll conclude. So this session I'm going to conclude now. Hare Krishna. I will stop the recording also here.